Hi, I'm David Patty, and today I like to talk to you guys about an interesting subject known as autism, and specifically how in the movie Forrest Gump, how autism is portrayed, and how I believe, in my opinion, through my own diagnosis and of Forrest Gump in particular, of how Forrest Gump, is suffering from autism throughout this movie, but as you can see, it is beneficial for him, really. Um, so I think most of you guys have seen Forrest Gump and are really familiar with the abnormal behavior which he portrays, and but at the same time, it's a quirky and actually really special behavior, which I think most of us come to um, find really I don't know if I should say cute, but um, a behavior that's really positive and really like turned his character into a very interesting and compelling and very joyful one to watch. But specifically talking about autism and in the clinical field of psychology, one one aspect of that would be the abnormal social behavior in which Forrest Gump portrays in the movie. So specifically talking, there's a couple instances in the movie, such as when he's speaking in an inappropriate context, and I'll give two examples of that. So there's, I think most of you remember in the movie, he is meeting JFK after he's won the football game, and he goes up to JFK, shakes his hand, and says, "I really have to go pee." And so I think most of you guys really think that that is an appropriate thing to say in some instances. But when you're meeting a president of the United States and you're shaking his hand, and after you just won an amazing game, you think that'd be something you'd probably keep to yourself and maybe just do in your own time, not something you'd really share in the kind of context and in that situation that he was in. Another instance of that would probably be at the beginning of the movie. I think that has that iconic scene where he meets the lady at the bench and other guests at the bench who are waiting for the bus, and he kind of has a conversation with them, but at the same time, it's sort of like a conversation about himself. And in some societies and in some cultures, talking to strangers might be a normal thing, and it might not be like sort of a, oh, you're kind of being weird there. Why are you talking to me? You're a stranger. But in this context, it feels like all the people who he's talking to are not really interested, but he's not picking up on that, and he's sort of not really, kind of what I said, not having a conversation, just talking about himself and his own life, and like a, not, maybe not inappropriate, but not a really good time to be doing that, waiting at a bus stop, and the person's probably not really interested, but he shares anyway. So that would be another abnormal behavior, which would be speaking out of context or speaking in a situation in which it would not be appropriate. Another behavior that I thought was really important to mention was acting out inappropriately in situations that have been misinterpreted. So an example of that would be in, I think most of you remember in the scene where Jenny is in a car with another man, and they're obviously doing something they might not, maybe shouldn't be doing, getting a little into each other. And we see Forrest Gump. He notices this happening, and instead of just seeing how like, oh, they're just doing something that's what people do. I think you know what I mean. But he takes it as Jenny's being attacked and that she needs his help. And so what does he do? He goes up to the car, opens the door, pulls Jenny out, goes back into the car, pushes the guy in, and just starts punching and punching and punching him, and just really beating him. And so one thing I didn't include in the slide, but it's good to mention, is that a normal behavior would be an aggressive behavior. And in the movie, we don't really see a lot, except in this instance where he defends Jenny. He really just gets really defensive of Jenny, wants to protect her. We know he has good intentions, but he just sort of went aggressive on the man, and just really just laid it to him, in a situation that wasn't really supposed to be happening. That wasn't necessary. A third example, and my last one, would be structured activities. And so throughout the movie, we see Forrest. He goes through multiple stages in his life. I mean, pretty quick actually. He goes from one activity to the next, and each one having a structure, him being told what to do exactly. So when he's told to run, he runs and runs and runs and runs and does not stop. And we see that plenty of times in the movie where he runs and runs, the most famous line, "Run, Forrest, run." And he just keeps on running, and but doesn't stop, and he doesn't until basically he's told to stop. So he's kind of just like a little bit robotic in that aspect, and he just does structured activities such as he goes to the military, goes to football. All these things are structured so that he basically knows what he needs to do in the most simplest ways, and he basically just goes with the flow, but maybe in an abnormal way, where he doesn't really think about it. He just does it because that's just what somebody presented to him and is structured, and they lay out the plan for him, and he's just ready to go. But that's actually another aspect of an autistic somebody suffering from autism would be them following these structured activities where they follow point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with exactness, and basically just do that until the next activity, until the next activity, until the next activity. And so that would probably be my last point I want to make about Forrest. And I think in my own clinical diagnosis, he is suffering from, I mean, at least maybe not a high on the high on the spectrum, but he's on there definitely. I think talking about this, he probably should go see therapy for the different sorts of ABA therapy specifically, to help him just keep his life structured and just keep him on the same page as he seems to move around a lot, and help him recognize like how normal social behavior works, which would probably be the best kind of treatment for him. But that's all I got to say, and thanks for listening.